Okay. This is probably a deck that I would more normally play on a regular basis. Just because I'm a fan of politics, and this deck can be very political, or it can just kind of get attacked to that because people don't like it. This deck is piloted by Baral, Chief of Compilation. What he does is he makes all of your instants and sorceries. This deck has a lot of 1 mana cheaper. He's really cheap. And if a spell or ability you control would counter a spell, you also draw a card and discard a card to loot. And this deck takes advantage of this in multiple ways by having a lot of counter spells. This deck has 37 counter spells. Even has some really uh basically counter spells that would only work in the early game, like Mana Leak, because there, when you don't need this card, you can just discard it through Barrel's second ability. And since you loot whenever you would counter, how does that take advantage of this is by having whenever you draw a card, you draw 2 cards instead. Like Alhammar's Archives, where you draw 2 cards on every draw. That's not your first draw. And Fault Reflection. This deck also has Guile, which is just an amazing card for this deck when it has 37 plus counter spells. Torrential basically is a Snapcaster mage, so we get to snap the spell back right away, and it's for free. So it's just an enter counter spell pretty much. And it has a 5/6 body, which is really nice. This card is just more card advance because this deck wants a lot of cards so it can be the most political. If you are not friends with someone, you can just make them really oppressed and like forced to be friends with you. And if they don't, you can just say, try offering friendship to a different person. Dayline and Vodalkin already do the same thing pretty much, where they allow all of your cards to have fast. So the cards that aren't instants, you can now play them without having your shields down. So you can guaranteeingly be able to get out your more draw effects and stuff like that without worrying about someone winning the game pretty much. Dokanori. Sapphire Medallion is just really good because this deck is based around Barrel's ability of instant sources being cheaper by playing like cards that would not normally be played, like just 2-man random counter spells, because now they're 1 mana and plus they draw a card and discard a card, so they're fine to play. This deck also has Deep Annihilus for card advantage, and you can also draw a card, discard this card, then pay 2 mana to draw 2 cards in free life. This is really nice, just because it's more card bans, and this that doesn't have any cards in, it kind of just does nothing. This card is 1 mana, draw 3 cards. This card is live through 7 cards, pick 2 of them. So it's a draw 2 cards but with choice, and it costs 2 blue usually because this deck doesn't have use for its graveyard, except for through cards like cards with Delve and Torrential Gearhulk. Factor Fitson is just a really nice draw card at instant speed. Stroke of Genius and Blues and CF are just draw X cards. This can potentially be your win condition, even though it's unlikely. This deck doesn't really have a win condition, it just hopes to help someone. This deck doesn't usually have a way to win besides stealing opponent's things through Guile, Aether Stance, and Spelljack. Or is Spelljack? Is Spelljack not in the stat? What? No, I guess Spelljack wasn't. Wait, what? Where? Spelljack. Oh, they are in a deck. I just forgot to put them in an orphan. Yeah, these cards just steal the opponent's cards. This deck wins really through Guile, and your goal is to get Guile, protect it, and just keep on getting spells through other people's cards. Whispers of Muse, even though it's kind of outdated by today's standards, is just a nice way of getting card lands. Especially if you can get this card just like a mana doubler or take a Sapphire Medallion. Is really nice. Jesus Sanctum is just an other card that has the same first effect of barrels, but also you get to scry one, and instead doesn't need lands after a certain period of time. And this can just help Finn and help try gain your Guile and other needed counterspells. Parallel Thoughts is the #1 way of gain Guile, but it's really nice with this deck because they tried killing it with a naturalized effect, and then you just like counter it. You get to draw a card, and when it gets on the field, whenever you counterspell, you get to search through the library, or not search through the library, get one of those 7 cards you exiled. You like, normally only search for 1 or 2 cards with this because you want to guarantee you get Guile. This is one of my favorite cards in here, and I wanted to do one thing with this deck that I haven't done in this version of the deck, but I have in other versions, where basically this card makes it so whenever a player will cast a spell, you get any player can counter it by paying the spell's mana. And this can backfire on you, but it can also help you by if someone plays it and you can have them counter it. You're not the one that needs to pay mana, or you can pay mana, but you did not have to actually have to use a card to do it. And this also works as barrel by any draw a card and discard card if someone else plays it. You could even, if you want to, play cards like Saya Brass and Mana Confluence. Just cards that add additional mana of any color, so that way you can also pay for it no matter what. But this is usually just for fun, especially if you have a Guile, it can really help you out. Escape. This card, when you get on the field, if no one can counter it, you can kind of just win the game if you have your board developed enough. But if there's other like blue decks and other decks that have ways of casting stuff at instant speed, it doesn't help them as much because you can only counter one thing one thing per turn, so it can also limit you down. Like this card and cards like Rule of Law and Curse of Exhaustion in one player games is a reason I play blue white, just because it can lock down the game. Propaganda is one of the way too few ways to protect yourself in this version of the deck. You probably should play something like Crawl Space, for example, or something along those lines, even like Maze of If. Maze of If, there are ways to counter things. This deck kind of focuses on more about political ways of doing it, and if people don't, they don't get to cast spells. Gauntlet of Power, Extra Potato Lens, and K-Sun all basically double your mana. And Psychometrics is basically a staple of the format. It's really nice to prevent someone from killing you, even though you had to deal with them. You have a couple ways of just stopping people from killing you if you feel threatened by them, like Cryptic Command and cards mentioned before. Mystic Confluence, stuff like that. And this is a deck. It's basically just aiming to keep on stalling. You could probably add another win condition that's just not Guile and stealing and pulling cards from your opponent. You could add Bribery, which would fit this deck. Or like what the the 5-mana card steals an artifact. Even though Bribery is probably better just for how Commander goes. But this is a deck. It's nice. It has a lot of counterspells, so you'll feel a lot protected. It plays a lot of strange counterspells, like cards you won't see. Like Second Guess. Because this is a 1-mana counterspell, even though it's really restricted with only the second spell cast. Even though this card doesn't actually work with a deck that well, because they cast a spell, you counter it, they cast their spell, and you can't counter it because 2 spells were cast that turn. This card is only really used at the beginning of the game, where they did cast like a mana dork, and then they cast their like a mana doubler, and then you could counter the mana doubler, but it's very limited. But it's fine to be limited just because you can kind of improve your hand quality with Barrel and other things. I like this version of deck. I have a different version of a deck. Where is it? This version of a deck only has mana, only counter spells. And I think I like this version better just because it's really weird and stuff. 57 instances. And I just like sideboard all of the cards that I've had in this first version. And I think this is gonna be it. This is probably closer to how I like to play the game, even though I like to play. I'll show you my favorite commander. Yeah, this guy, I like to play Fog Effects. I like to play Counter Effects. I like to play Stall Effects. I like to play big creatures pretty much. I own a foil Fog. I like Fog. Fog is best card. But this is gonna be the end of it. Hopefully I can show you my Angus Mackenzie deck, because I actually have one almost built in real life, but I'm missing some of the pieces. This is gonna be the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it.